Good morning. Good morning. I'm Mary Utes. I use she, her pronouns, and I'd like to welcome you to Bucksmont Unitarian Universalist Fellowship's multi-platform worship, where moved by love, we share lifelong journeys of growth, wonder, and healing, nurturing wholeness in society and spirit, creating a community of justice and compassion. I'd like to give a welcome to everyone joining us online and in person today, members, friends, and those who may be newcomers to our community this morning. As we begin our service, please take a moment to silence your cell phones. If you are new to Bucksmont and visiting us in person today, please stop by our visitor center in the front hallway near where you came in. There you can also make a name tag for yourself and find more information about Unitarian Universalism, Bucksmont Fellowship, and upcoming events. If you'd like a hymnal or a printed order of service, those are available near the entrance to the sanctuary. If you are visiting us online or prefer digital methods, please email our office administrator, Beverly, to sign up for our email newsletter and to get connected to our congregation. You may also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Bucksmont UU. Each week in our service, we offer time for people to share a joy or sorrow from their lives by texting a phone number. That number is shared on screen for everyone now, will be again later in the service, and is listed in the order of service. If you would like to see the order of service, details about upcoming services, and other ways to gather with our community, you can find that on the homepage of our website, www.bucksmontuu.org. There is a lot happening at Bucksmont, and we'd like to highlight these announcements in particular. Ruth Ashman will be in the social hall after the service today to sign up adults who want to participate in the 3rd annual Trunk or Treat that takes place next Sunday in the parking lot after services. This is one time of the year when we can support our children in RE with a fun activity. Bring candy or treats to distribute to the costumed kids as they parade around the parking lot. As participants, you can dress in costume, which is optional, and decorate your car trunk, also optional, but bringing treats is, well, sort of expected. Sign up after services today. The Peace and Justice Committee is pleased to announce that for the August split plate, $1,420.04 was donated through weekly offerings, $500 by individual check, and $1,180 from Paw Paw sales, making a total of $3,104. This was raised for the Jack and Rosemarie Schieber Immigrant Scholarship Fund. It is scary to be hungry. The teens in the Social Justice Club are organizing a food drive to combat hunger in our community. They will be collecting non-perishable goods at the Trunk or Treat event on October 27th. Please help them stock some shelves at Manna on Main Street's food pantry. Thank you in advance. Whether you are a guest, friend, or member, we are glad you are part of our worship service today. As we gather in our sanctuary, in our homes, or watch from mobile screens almost anywhere, we are all together. Those watching now on Sunday, and those who may be watching months from now, we are joined together for worship across both space and time. This is a free, creedless religious congregation. In the discipline of truth and the spirit of universal kinship, we join together in a cooperative quest for religious and ethical values, seeking to apply these values to the development of character, enrichment of the spirit, and service to all. You are welcome here, whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever the color of your skin or your country of origin, no matter your gender expression or gender identity, whatever your age, however you define family, wherever you are at this time, and whatever the source of your faith, you are welcome here. Our speaker this morning is Julie Kimmel. Julie has been a member of Bucksmont for 15 years, and she has enjoyed connecting with others through small group ministry, volunteering with various committees, and teaching RE. As a kid, she enjoyed reading both fantasy and history, and her curiosity about the past eventually led her to complete a PhD in American history and on to a career teaching history to high school students. She is active in her community and works to get out the vote every election. She also loves being outdoors, hiking, swimming, reading, and watching movies.
This morning, as we do each time we gather, we kindle our Unitarian Universalist chalice. We do so today with words from Viola Abbott. As we light this chalice, may it serve to give us clarity of purpose and illumine our way as we set about doing the work of this congregation in commitment, in cooperation, and in love. Please light your chalice at home. Our common chalice is now lit.
Hi, my name is Bob Chalmers. I use he, him pronouns. Our first hymn is Where is Our Holy Church? It's number 113 in the gray hymnal, or the words will be on the screen. 299?
I don't know, just.
Okay. It says 113 here. Okay. Please rise in body or spirit. The words, if not the correct number, will be on the screen.
As equal persons in the for the young and the young at heart. All right. So today we are going to read a story, and it's all kind of about voting. Do we guys know why voting is important? Yeah. Yeah, you get to pick who you like best, right? So we recently voted here on something. We all voted to name our jet pig, Pegasus. That was pretty cool, right? We had a bunch of suggestions, and we all voted and picked which one we liked best. And very soon, as a country, we're going to be voting for who our president is going to be. And that's a big deal. So we're going to read a story about why that's a big deal, okay? Everyone Gets a Say by Jill Twiss. Pudding was a quiet snail and did not like shouting. So when he woke up to the sound of loud bellows and honks, he poked his head out of his house, which was inside his other house, because he's a snail, right? So he's got two houses. Pretty cool, right? Lately, it seemed like Pudding's friends couldn't agree on anything. Today, they were trying to decide what to plant in a sunny patch of land, and it was not going well. Whatever Toast the butterfly wanted, Jitterbug the chipmunk did not. Did you know that butterflies drink nectar from flowers using their tongues like straws? Asked Toast. We should plant flowers. But, said Jitterbug, acorns grow into trees, and trees will give us even more acorns. And whatever Duffles and Nudge the otters wanted, Geezer the goose was absolutely against. No plants, shouted Duffles, just mud, continued Nudge, so we can slide big tummy slides into the lake, they finished together. Honk, 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 bellowed Geezer. I insist on vegetables, and I do not care to hear what anyone else has to say. Lots of different opinions here, huh? The yells got louder, and the shouts got shoutier. Pudding had just begun to squish back inside of his shell when, did you know that bees have queens? Everyone got quiet. What? Asked Jitterbug. A queen bee is someone who leads the bees, said Toast. Whoa, said Jitterbug. Do we need someone to bring us together? Yes, said Nudge, a someone to be our voice, when we all have different voices, finished Duffles. Even Geezer gave a honk of approval. The friends had finally found something they all agreed upon until... But, said Jitterbug, how do we choose that someone? Maybe the someone who is in charge, interrupted Nudge, should be the someone who is the tallest, finished Duffles. What if we started Pudding, but no one cared to listen. Wait, exclaimed Jitterbug. Maybe the someone who's in charge should be the someone who is the fastest. Like Jitterbug, huh? Huff, puff. If you just listen... Pudding the snail's finishing last, huh? Honk, 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 interrupted Geezer. The someone who's in charge should be the someone who is the loudest. Honk! No, the twinsiest, the floatiest, the oldest, the fluffiest. No matter how hard he tried, Pudding couldn't get anyone to listen to him. The flittiest, the busiest, the squishiest, the slipperiest, the grouchiest. Everyone wanted themselves to win, huh? Yeah. Wait, sputtered Jitterbug. Where is Pudding? The friends looked everywhere they could think of. In their house, under the water, no Pudding. Then they heard a tiny squish. Look, shouted Jitterbug. What does that mean? Everyone gets a say. That means That means that you say who you want to be in charge, said Pudding. Then I say who I want to be in charge. And Duffles and Nudge and Geezer and Toast say who they want to be in charge. Whoa, said Jitterbug. That's a lot of saying. And after everyone gets their say, we count. And whichever someone most of us want to be in charge is in charge, added Pudding. Honk, honk, honk. What about the loudest? Someone squawked Geezer, even louder than usual. But Pudding wasn't finished. When everyone gets a say, the very quietest someone gets the same say as the very loudest someone. The very tiniest someone gets the same say as the very biggest someone. Pudding stretched up a little taller as he realized that everyone was listening to him now. It's called voting, said Pudding. Voting is how you have a say, even when no one will listen to you. We think it's, said Duffles. A great idea, finished Nudge. Honk, 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 said Geezer. Let's all have our say. And they did. Have your say. We believe having our say, began Nudge, is of the uttermost importance, finished Duffles. Honk, honk, vote, said Geezer. And everyone voted. Hello, hello, hello. I have a very important announcement to make, said Jitterbug. And the Friends of the Forest have had their say. And the someone who will be in charge is, what do you guys think it's going to be? Oh. Pudding the Snail. Pudding was very surprised. He squished forward and spoke quietly. This time, everyone was listening. Fellow someones, I promise to listen to every single one of your voices, because it doesn't matter if you're the tallest or the shortest or the squishiest or the fluffiest or even the quietest. In our forest, every someone gets a say. Good book, right, guys? Yeah. So, soon coming up in a week and a half, about 2.5 weeks, it's voting day. And all the adults in here are going to be voting on who they want to be president, who's in charge, just like they did in this book. So that's pretty cool. It's something you can talk to your parents about. Okay? All right. Let's head downstairs for some RE classes.
As you go on your way, may you be filled with gladness. Go enjoy, go enjoy. May fortune bless your day with peace and loving kindness. Go in love, go in love. As you go on your way, may you be filled with gladness. Go enjoy, go enjoy. May fortune bless your day with peace and loving kindness. Go in love, go in love.
The offering in liberal religion is a vital part of our history of faith. As a covenanted community, people who freely choose to be here, our voluntary giving is symbolic of that freedom of choice. Each week at Bucksmont, we share our offering with a different cause or organization in the community. For the month of October, we are sharing with Apartment Partners. Our October split plate recipient is the Apartment Partners Project, run by the Bucks County Housing Group. They provide affordable housing and related services to people with low to moderate income and people in crisis. We sponsor an apartment at their facility in Doylestown. We currently have a mom and 3 children in the apartment we sponsor. Throughout the year, we supply a welcome basket for a family when they move into the apartment, holiday food baskets, Christmas gifts, and additional items as needed. Through your generous support, Bucksmont has been able to help many families get back on their feet and become productive members of society again. We ask that you participate in our morning offering in one of these ways. You can write out a check to Bucksmont and mail it into the fellowship. You may donate online now or at the end of our worship service, or you may place your donation into one of the baskets as they are passed. We will now receive the morning offering. Thank you, Grant. Our community continues to grow and thrive due to generous donations of both time and money. For the many ways that you contribute and how it sustains this fellowship, we are truly grateful. In 1850, Ted Parker, a Unitarian minister, gave a speech in Boston. His goal in the speech was to persuade his fellow Bostonians to break the law and to aid the federal government in enforcing the newly passed Fugitive Slave Act. It was a very long speech, as speeches were in those days, but it includes a short passage on democracy. As I read it, I invite you to hear the word people when Parker uses the word men. He was a supporter of women's suffrage, but used the language conventions of his day. You might notice, too, that he switches from men to people at the end of this passage. Ted Parker, The American Idea, speech delivered at an abolitionist meeting in Boston in 1850. This is what I call the American idea. I so name it because it seems to me to lie at the basis of all our truly original, distinctive, and American institutions. It is itself a complex idea, composed of three subordinate and more simple ideas, namely, the idea that all men have unalienable rights, that in respect thereof, all men are created equal, and that government is to be established and sustained for the purpose of giving every man an opportunity for enjoyment and development of these unalienable rights. This idea demands, as the proximate organization thereof, a democracy, that is, a government of all the people, by all the people, for all the people. Of course, a government after the principles of eternal justice, the unchanging law of God. For shortness' sake, I will call it the idea of freedom.
Good morning again. Thank you to Grant for putting together a medley that fits with the themes in this talk, and thank you to Mary for reading Theodore Parker's passage from his speech. My purpose today is to reflect on the relationship between our UU values and democracy. I chose this topic because I've been thinking and worrying about the state of our American democracy, and I wanted a way to wrestle with my worries and perhaps not banish them, but find a way of dealing with them. So to begin my work on this talk, I went to our library right here in Bucksmont. I brought my props with me, but I wanted to thank Jeannie Bellavance for having such a well-stocked library for us. So when I went there looking for answers, I checked out 2 books, and I'll be ready to return them after this talk. And these books have really shaped my journey of reflection and what I have to say today. So one is called Daring Democracy, Igniting Power, Meaning, and Connection for the America We Want. It's written by Francis Moore Lappe and Adam Eichen. One of them is a Unitarian Universalist, the other is just a friendly, I suppose. And then Parker J. Palmer's book, Healing the Heart of Democracy, The Courage to Create Politics Worthy of the Human Spirit. So some of you may be familiar with Parker J. Palmer as a Unitarian Universalist thinker and speaker. Let's start with our 6 values. You can find them in the order of service, and I think they're on the back side. And if you scan through them, you'll see that as Unitarian Universalists, we covenant to support the use of inclusive democratic processes to make decisions within our congregations, our association, and society at large. What does it mean to hold democracy as a spiritual value? Understanding democracy as part of a faith tradition is a bit different from understanding it as a political scientist might. A political scientist might conduct a study and determine that compared to other political systems, democracy is more likely to meet the needs of a larger number of people. Or a political theorist might look to Aristotle, who argued that all governments are prone to errors, and that by giving weight to many voices, democracies were likely to make better decisions. Good arguments. But these outcomes, as desirable as they are, aren't the main reason we, as Unitarian Universalists, covenant to support democratic processes. Rather, we covenant to support inclusive democratic processes because we believe, like Eichen and Lappe, I'll be quoting from these books quite a bit, that engaging in democratic practices is a key to human dignity. Or, as Unitarian minister Theodore Parker framed it in 1850, democracy is a form of government after the principles of eternal justice, the unchanging law of God. Parker invoked a deity and declared it God's will for all humans to have freedom, and that democracy is the earthly practice necessary to carry out God's will, that all humans be free. When Parker wrote this speech, I learned he kept a pistol in his desk drawer at his Unitarian church because they were sheltering freedom seekers who had escaped slavery. And he was speaking out against the newly enacted fugitive slave law, which made it a crime to assist people fleeing from the horrors of slavery. And in this speech, he imagined a more inclusive democracy, calling for a government of all the people, by all the people, for all the people. These lines would be repeated almost verbatim 13 years later when Abraham Lincoln called for a new birth of freedom in the Gettysburg Address, one of the most famous speeches in American history. Historians believe he borrowed from Parker because Lincoln's personal papers include a copy of that 1850 speech with those key lines underlined. Lincoln and Parker weren't just calling for an end to slavery. They were articulating a bigger idea about freedom. The idea that human freedom is a divine goal for all people and is achieved only when humans participate on a basis of equality in the decision-making that shapes their lives. I started with this historical side because I've been teaching the Gettysburg Address for a long time to students, and I never knew that it was influenced by Theodore Parker, a Unitarian minister, and I thought that was really cool. But also, I start here to emphasize that our UU commitment to democracy has deep roots. Now, I want to trace the thread of this commitment through the changes in our statements of principles and values. When Unitarians and Universalists merged in 1961, they wrote democracy into their 6 principles. Their third, or our third principle, was to affirm, defend, and promote the supreme worth of every human personality, the dignity of man, and the use of the democratic method in human relations. Gone is the language that democracy is God ordained, and in its place, we hear a growing interest in self-development and human relationships. This emphasis on human relationships likely reflects the 1960s context of civil rights and the beginning of the women's rights movement. 25 years later, in the 1980s, we reorganized our beliefs into 7 principles. At this time, our 5th principle was the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and society at large. And just this past year, hello pig, we revised our beliefs and into our new 6 values, which include the value of justice. And this you will see on the back of your order of service. The value of justice calls on us to work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all thrive. There's some repetition here, but it's worth it. We covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. We support the use of inclusive democratic processes to make decisions within our congregations, our association, and our society at large. Notice the change. In the language of the 1980s, our commitment to democracy is linked to the importance of individual conscience, looking within to determine what is right, and letting your conscience be your guide. This language focused our attention on inspiring examples of people who found an inner voice that told them to stand up for what is right, even when the people around them disagreed. Our newly adopted language suggests listening to our own conscience is not sufficient to lead us to justice. The statement on democracy now comes after a sentence on combating racism and other forms of systemic oppression. This language pushes us to look outside ourselves, to listen to others, and to understand the way that we experience the world as it is not always the way others experience the world as it is. Our new values remind us that every person has a voice only works when we commit to listening as well as speaking up. So you see, our use of democratic processes within our UUA association at large seems to be working to allow us to change what we focus on as we continue to covenant to support democracy. But what does it mean for us to support the use of inclusive democratic processes in society at large? After all, we are just one tiny group. And when we look at democracy in American society at large, we see cause for worry. The Global State of Democracy Initiative is giving the USA a C overall in practicing democracy. On measures of democracy, we rank 52nd in the world. We have a D, it's like a whole report card. So we have a D in some categories, and we have a B in some categories, but our average is a C. I'm not gonna list the reasons why the longest functioning democracy in the world is slipping down the ratings of free countries and getting a C on our democracy report card. I imagine that you, like me, find it easy to spot weaknesses in the current state of our democracy. Yet, for our democracy to get stronger, we have to believe that it can. Lape and Eichen tell us in Daring Democracy, the possibility of creating a flourishing democratic society rests on whether enough Americans believe that it is achievable. Democracy has no physical substance. Sure, we have town halls, voting machines, state houses, but democracy is something that we first imagine into existence, and it is based on beliefs about human beings and their potential. Think about the words of the U.S. Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. This was a statement of belief that did not describe reality. Americans have always lived in a flawed democracy. Yet, from the beginning, brave Americans have imagined the possibility of democracy and taken action to bring it about. Unfortunately, and I say this as a history teacher, there is no law of progress. And we have examples of individuals working and succeeding to make America more democratic, but we also have examples of individuals and groups and developments that weaken our democracy. William Hastie, America's first Black appellate court judge, said, "Democracy is becoming rather than being. It can easily be lost, but is never fully won. Its essence is eternal struggle." So how do we believe in and work for a better democracy, in spite of the fact that we are a small group and the problems are big? How do we deal with the danger of cynicism, the danger of blame, of exhaustion, and hopelessness. How do we overcome the damaging belief that we are too divided to work together? One answer comes from Parker Palmer's book on healing the heart of democracy. He introduces a concept I found useful, the concept of standing and acting in the tragic gap. In his words, of all the tensions we must hold in personal and political life, perhaps the most fundamental and most challenging is standing and acting with hope in the tragic gap. On one side of that gap, we see the hard realities of the world, realities that can crush our spirit and defeat our hopes. On the other side of that gap, we see real-world possibilities, life as we know it could be because we have seen it that way. How do we stand and act in the tragic gap? How do we face frightening realities and make space for hope, the kind of hope that inspires action? I'm going to close with 5 ways that Palmer suggests we can stand and act in the tragic gap. First, build community. Palmer says that communities that live shared values together can serve as nurseries or hothouses where plants are tended until they are hardy enough to be transplanted outdoors and subjected to all kinds of weather. The ideas and people we nurture here may be the ones that nudge the world towards life as we know it could be. Second, nourish imagination. When the brain thinks something is possible, it will look for pathways to create that possibility. I love it that Kevin's benediction often calls on us to imagine a world radical enough to be called holy. Third, honor the importance of rest and rejuvenation. Parker also writes about the importance of contemplation and rest as necessary for becoming a person who has the habits of heart for democracy. A democratic self is patient, creative, able to deal with ambiguity. Those are qualities we cultivate by stepping back and slowing down. Fourth, see positive examples that give us hope. So while we are taking a moment to rest, we must not be blind to the positive examples that give us hope. That is the danger of getting pulled too far into the darker side of the tragic gap. We lose sight of real examples that show us what is possible. Here is one example that we know well. When our local school board in Central Bucks began to ban books and implement policies harmful to LGBTQ+ youth, people in this community joined with those across our area to petition for change, to pack school board meetings, to knock on doors, ultimately electing new leaders who better reflect the values of the community. And voters who we did not think of as allies joined us to vote out a harmful school board. Fifth, stay tethered to values, faith, and spirituality. Many of us feel worry and anxiety about the coming election. I know I do. And the uncertainty of the outcome is difficult to bear at times. But no matter the outcome of this particular election, we will find ourselves living in some version of the tragic gap. For that is what it means to be a human community living our values in historic time. Yes, we may see one outcome of this election as better, perhaps much better than another one, and we may be working hard for that outcome, and that work is good to do. But Palmer suggests we judge our success not by particular outcomes, but by our faithfulness to our values. Are we honoring our covenant to support democracy? Are we raising our voices? Are we listening? Are our actions rooted in love? Again, borrowing from Palmer, when faithfulness is our standard, we are more likely to sustain our engagement with tasks that will never end, doing justice, loving mercy, and calling the beloved community into being. And I will close as I began with gratitude for this community for making it possible to find our roots in and see a future shaped by faith in our values, including our value of democracy.
Our next hymn is number 168 in the gray hymnal, One More Step. Please stand in body or spirit and to sing this. And everyone will take one more step. One more word, we will say one more word, till every word is heard by everyone. We'll say one more word. One more prayer, we will say one more prayer. Shared by everyone, we'll say one more prayer. One more song, we will sing one more song, till every song is sung by everyone. We'll sing one more song.
Let us now enter into a time of awareness within ourselves and connection beyond boundaries. Connection to one another, to that interdependent web of life of which we are but one small thread. As we breathe in, we are connected. As we breathe out, we are connected. This morning, I am sharing the words of Kimberly Ann Tomchak Carlson in Our Roots of Resilience. Feel the gravity of the earth holding you in place. Wiggle your toes as if they were roots. Roots connect you to the earth, lending you strength. Gently sway in the wind, turning your body like a trunk of a tree, leaning this way and that, bending as the air pushes and pulls. What surrounds you may sway you, make you bend and feel unbalanced. Wiggle your toes. Know that your roots can hold you as you grow and learn. A tree is nourished by the soil and water. You are nourished by food the earth grows and the water it provides. You are cared for and loved by many people. Breathe deeply. Still yourself. Know that your roots are strong. Wiggle your toes. As we breathe in, we are connected. As we breathe out, we are connected. May our minds create a vision of the world radical enough to be called holy. May our actions contain the promise of hope and the commitment to justice. May our hearts remember that love is a power that resists all forms of fear. By our thoughts, by our actions, by our hearts, and by our very breath, may it be so. As part of our caring outreach to one another, we set aside a few moments to note both the sorrows and the joys in our lives. In these moments of peace and reflection, we turn our attention to one another. We hold each and all in our compassionate thoughts and the prayers of our hearts. This morning, we are lighting candles to mark the important moments in our lives. Each candle adds to the collective light of this community, a place that also holds the memories of those who have gone before and anticipates those who have yet to arrive. To share the joy or sorrow you would like held by our caring community, text the number that is now on screen. Please include your name along with your sharing. It is the same number no matter how you join us today, and you can add it to your contacts for future weeks. I will read them aloud, and Julie will light a candle on your behalf. What is shared today will go out in our weekly caring notes for those who cannot be with us this morning. Please remember to include your first and last name with what you share. And now we will light a final candle for all the joys and sorrows that remain unspoken and deep within our hearts. With words spoken and candles lit, we honor our joys and our sorrows, those shared this morning and the many more that exist beyond words. Through our time together, our relationships are deepened and our community made whole.
Our closing hymn is number 1028 in the Teal hymnal, The Fire of Commitment. Please rise in body or spirit to sing this. From the light of days remembered burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we love with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of our living rings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul
Our chalice extinguishing words this morning are from Reinhold Niebuhr. Nothing that is worth doing can be achieved in our lifetime. Therefore, we must be saved by hope. Nothing which is true or beautiful or good makes complete sense in any immediate context of history. Therefore, we must be saved by faith. Nothing we do, however virtuous, can be accomplished alone. Therefore, we are saved by love.
As our community departs from this service, may we remember all who came before. May we imagine all who will come after. May we honor all who are present with us here and now. In our time together, we create this community, one of promise, one of commitment, one of love. In our time together, may each of us become a sanctuary for all we meet on the journey. May we go together now and return again.